I'll call this meeting to order. It's the regular meeting of the Transportation Public Works Committee, this day, October 21st, 2014. I'm Councilmember Reich. I'll be chairing the committee. I am joined by Councilmembers Yang, Palmisano, and Gordon. We are a quorum, and we can proceed with today's agenda. On today's agenda, we have a total of 11 items, 2 for discussion, 3 public hearings, the remainder on consent. I will go through the consent items. Any committee member can pull an item if they wish. Starting with item number 5, which is an alley easement, authorizing acceptance and recording of an easement with 24th Mall LLC to replace a vacated alley between Elliott and 10th Avenue South and 22nd and 24th Street East. Item 8 is the Hay Northwest Franklin Hall and Lynn Park Area Street Resurfacing Project, amending resolution 2014R 239 to increase the amount of special assessments by $27,000. $756.84 for a total of $1,332,061.79 for the Hay Northwest Franklin Hall Lynn Park Area Street Resurfacing Project, and amending the same resolution to increase the bond sale of the said amount. That will be referred to Ways and Meeting Committee. Item 8 is authorized amendment contract with the Metropolitan Council for the 2013 Clean Water Fund Inflow Infiltration Grant Program Agreement, increasing the contract by $56,230.56. to provide property owners financial assistance with repairs to private sewer services. That will be referred to Ways and Means. Item 8 is authorized increase to the contract with Edward Kramer Sons Incorporated by $32,416.28, extending the contract to December 31st, 2014 to allow for payment of additional work performed as part of the federal project. Funds are available in the existing project budget. No additional program appropriation is required, and that will be referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Item 9 is authorizing negotiation and execution in a contract with SEH in an amount not to exceed $2,400,000 for pre-construction and construction management services for the Nicollet Mall redesign and reconstruction project. And finally, authorizing negotiation and execution of the contract with Shenandoah in an amount not to exceed $60,000 for assessment calculation for the project. That will be referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Those are the consent items. Does the committee member wish to pull any? Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to comment on number 6, if I may.
Oh, please do.
Mr. Chair, it was my understanding with regards to item number 6, which happened in Ward 5, that this is more or less a clerical error that needed to be fixed, and it wasn't much more than that. So, I mean, the new assessment or the special assessment amount that's being fixed is just that. And I will tell you that this weekend I went out door knocking, in this area, and it was nice. So, thank you.
Thanks for the clarification on the street report. Any other item? Does anyone wish to pull? See none, I will move all items for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting name. Those items are forwarded to full council. We'll now go to the public hearings in order. The first one being the sidewalk repair and construction assessments. Director Kotke, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. We have Mike Kennedy, the Director of Transportation Maintenance and Repair, who will introduce this item.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Mike Kennedy, Director of Transportation Maintenance and Repair for Public Works. I'm here this morning for 2 public hearings. The first being wish of the public sidewalk repair construction public hearing. In the summer of 2013, we had performed about 2,100 repair orders citywide. In August of 2010, the City Council approved an administrative hearing process for both sidewalk repair and sidewalk snow and ice removal assessments. The process enables the sidewalk inspections to work directly with property owners to set up a hearing date and time with an administrating hearing officer before appearing here. An assessment letter was sent instructing the property owner to contact Public Works and in writing if they had an issue with their assessment. Sidewalk Inspections then contacts the property owner to discuss their concerns regarding the pending assessment. This allowed the Sidewalk Inspections and the property owner to agree upon some resolution in many cases, eliminating the need to even proceed further. The properties, we had 4 people who contested repairs to the hearing officer. One said that they would appear here today. The property owners are the properties on the list to be assessed dated September 26, 2014, as on file in the Office of the City Clerk and with the City Engineer Special Assessment Office. Had sidewalk repair and construction work done during 2013 by the city's sidewalk contractors. The amount to be assessed as special assessments principal is the cost of the work plus the sidewalk administration fee, which is 10% of the cost of that work with a cap of $50 on that fee. The total principal amount of the proposed assessments on the list of properties to be assessed, less prepayments received and adjustments by the administrating hearing officer, is $710,508.64. Property owners who are being assessed have an opportunity to pay these off at different rates, 1, 5, or 10 years, depending on the amount of the assessment. So today our recommendation is to pass a resolution to adopt the assessments in the total amount of $710,508.64, levy the assessments, adopt the assessment roll, and direct the city clerk to transmit certified copies of the assessment roll to the Hennepin County Auditor. That's my presentation. I've got staff here from both the assessor's office and sidewalk inspections if there are any questions.
Any questions per the presentation thus far? Councilmember Yang.
Mr. Kennedy, just a question with regards to the process. With regards to street assessments, we, in some ways, we ask for permission first, and then it's a strange process, but with sidewalks, it's almost like we do the work, and then we ask on the back end to approve and, do a resolution and pay for it on the back end. And are we thinking about making both processes mirror each other much more or less, or are we going to continue just doing it the way we've been doing it? Do you get what I'm asking? It's a little bit unclear.
Mr. Chair, or Councilmember Yang, I'm not sure I do understand what you're asking. With both processes, we announced that we are coming to do the work, tell people that they can give us a call, and we'll go out and talk with them about it if they want. They have the option to do the work themselves with an approved contractor, or have the city contractors do it for the sidewalk repairs. The work is done and they're sent a bill. They have the opportunity to either pay that bill or allow the cost to go onto to be assessed with their property taxes. I'm not aware that we're looking to change that process at this time.
Okay, and I guess like with street assessments, you do the assessment kind of closer to the front end, whereas for sidewalk repairs, you do it in the way back end, right?
That's correct. We are today talking about assessments. People will see these assessments on their 2015 tax bills for work that was done in 2013.
Right.
Any other questions per the presentation? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. And this is a public hearing for our sidewalk repair and construction assessments as explained by staff. Anyone signed in? Clerk is suggesting no one signed in. Does anyone wish to appear? If so, state your name and address for the record. Anyone wish to appear? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. I will move the approval of the resolution adopting the levy of assessments in the amount and as described by staff in the presentation. Any discussion from council members? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting nay. That will forward to full council. Item number 2, public hearing for snow and ice removal from public sidewalk assessments. Mr. Kennedy.
Mr. Chair, again, Mike Kennedy from Public Works. This public hearing is for the assessment public hearing for snow and ice removal from city sidewalks. The city sidewalk inspections office enforces the city's snow shoveling ordinance, and this is the end result of that. This is for the 2013-14 season that just went by. We had 1,600 work orders for snow and ice control removal that were performed. Some 400 or 500 have moved to the assessment process here. Again, the City Council approved the administrative hearing process for this process, and many people have followed that. We had 35 property owners contest snow orders and the snow charges. 6 said they would appear today. The properties on the list to be assessed dated September 26, 2014, and the Office of the City Clerk and the City Engineer Special Assessment Office had snow and ice removal work done by the city were sent a bill for the cost of removal work and were notified that a special assessment for the removal charge plus interest would be added to the real estate taxes if the charges were not paid through the billing process. The amount to be assessed as special assessment principal is the cost of the removal work, which includes sidewalk administration fee of 10% of the cost of the work. The total principal amount of the proposed assessments on the list of properties to be assessed is $129,384.76. Prepayments have been received to reduce the amount of the assessments to $127,093.85. These will be collected in their entirety on the 2015 real estate tax statements with interest. Therefore, our recommendation today is to pass a resolution to adopt the assessments in the total amount of $127,093.85, levy the assessments and adopt the assessment roll, and direct the city clerk to transmit certified copies of the assessment roll to Hennepin County Auditor. Again, I have the same staff available if you have questions, and that's our presentation.
Thank you. Any questions per the presentation? See none, I will open the public hearing. This is the public hearing for the snow and ice removal from public sidewalk assessments as described by staff in the presentation. Anyone sign in? And I will take testimony in order, starting with Tim Thiesing. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Tim Thiesing, 5545 Fremont Avenue South. So on the 10th of February, I got a notice from the city that the sidewalk needed some work. The kids played in the front yard, pushed some snow onto the sidewalk. I want to note that I'm one of the first guys out on our block, snow blowing, 5 or 6 neighbors. I went out with ice picks, shovels, salt, all that stuff. I did the best. I put my best foot forward to do the best I could with the conditions we had. When the city came and we were on vacation and we came back and the city was there doing that, I actually thought they had the wrong address because 2 houses down is a rental and I thought they were doing the wrong address. And I took pictures of the neighbors' sidewalks as well. Ours was in no different condition than anybody else's. I understand somebody sent an email in and complained about ours. I did put my best foot forward, and I'm trying to be reasonable here. I realize there's a cost associated with it. I'm willing to meet you guys halfway on it. It drives me crazy because I'm the first one out there blowing half the block's driveways and sidewalks. And so I've lived in this house for 15 years and I've never had an issue. And so by the time the city came out, it was actually warming up and it would have been taken care of. So I'm willing to pay something. I just think, if I can meet you guys in the middle, that would be great.
Thank you for your testimony. Staff is here and you can approach them and have any further more detailed conversations if you wish. The staff that are available for which are the relevant staff? Oh.
Morning, Honorable Chair and committee members. My name is Dan Bauer. I'm the supervisor for Public Works Sidewalk Inspections. I have the record here in front of me. Well, I'll just read it off here. So we received a complaint on the 2nd of February 2014 through the 311. And we went out and inspected. Inspector Matt Hannon checked this property on the 10th of February. He reported that it was shoveled poorly at that time. 4 to 6 inches of snow were on the sidewalk. Did a second inspection on the 25th of February. Still found it to be shoveled poorly. And on the 25th, the removal order was sent to our street department. And the removal was done on 3/11. And there are photos. I don't know if you have copies of those or not. I can show you the before and after photo if you wish. But there was snow and ice remaining on the sidewalk and it was removed. The ordinance says that the sidewalk needs to be free and clear of snow and ice.
Thank you very much. We'll continue with the public hearing at this point in time. Just wanted to make sure that folks knew who the relevant staff people were. Thank you. Second, we have Arlene Hobson. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Oh, you might want to come towards the microphones. Thank you.
Address is 3042 11th Avenue South, and my son Timothy, he lives there, he's here today, so, about the sidewalk removal, he said it was done, and, I wasn't there to see it, but he said it was done and everything was clean and clear, and I don't know if the wind blew some more back over there, because it was a very heavy snow winter, and so it was hard to keep it all done off. And with his, some disability and stuff, it was hard to get out there, and it's very hard for me to get over there all the time and do it because I don't live there, and I have to try and work, and I have some health issues myself, some injuries with, it's so slippery that winter with hip replacement. It was bad, getting around, so it was very difficult for me. So maybe he can tell you exactly what happened because I really didn't see it myself.
Okay, thank you very much. And perhaps there's some trail of what happened in the record, and you can speak with the staff person that was just up a little bit ago.
Yeah.
He's right behind you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Moving down the list here, we have Charity Brand. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Charity Brand, 4019 Bryant Avenue North, Minneapolis. The issue is they didn't warn us ahead of time they were going to clear the walks. So they want $95. And we had no warning they were going to do the work. All they do is the front walk by the street for $95. Before that, in February, it was $105. I did clear that walk. My argument is they didn't send a warning letter. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Did you get the letters that I had printed out?
Yeah, we did, and I believe there will be an adjustment in your situation. At least that's what I have before me to reduce the amount.
Oh, I
in your case.
appreciate it.
Yes. So
The other issue to feel the city council did, I think it was Minneapolis, it passed the satellite protection for the driveways and garages, and the city residents don't have any vote in that. So I didn't think that was fair. I wrote that in the document.
okay, that's in the record. Thank you.
Because
very much.
it's not mentioned in the elections, it's not mentioned in our taxes, and you're violating our boundaries with privacy issues for the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable searching and seizing. So part of the problem for mowing and shoveling is we don't have any privacy. In North Minneapolis, the trees were wind blown down. So that gave the satellite more access for loss of privacy. So that's what we're up against. It's very paranoid. And then the saucers on everybody's houses and garage, radar all over the place. So it's very hard to live around there now. But I didn't think it was fair. The city council should bring in the satellite system. Was it 10 years ago? To be broadcast on Taxation Channel 6.
Unfortunately, this is not the committee that would have an answer for that.
Oh, what committee would be it?
What's that?
What committee is it?
I'm not sure. You can maybe talk with staff or leave a note with the clerk's office. And we'll
What's
get
in the
back to you.
document?
Oh, if it's in the document, then we'll review that and
Okay,
approach it accordingly.
thank you.
Thank you. Moving down, we have Charles Graham. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
I'm Charles Graham, pastor of Macedonia Baptist Church. And I've come to talk about the snow removal of last year, January, I think it was. Snow had fallen quite unexpectedly so many days last year. We hired somebody to come out and remove the snow on a regular basis. We take care of the entire south side of the street removal of snow. We have one janitor at our building who shovels the sidewalks. and we hire somebody to remove the snow from our parking lot. On the day that's in question, I believe that the snow had already been removed. We received a letter from the city saying that it had not been removed, and it snowed again, and they sent somebody out to remove it. I think that the city was not very responsible in what had happened in this situation, because the snow fell at different times, and they were trying to say that the snow had been there all the time when we had removed the snow and it had come back again. I sent a letter to the city and explained that. However, whomever I talked, I think it's Mr. Boyer, somebody I talked with, said that I needed to come here and explain it again. I believe that if the city is going to be responsible in these kind of situations, they should have the facts right. And if the facts are not right, I'd like to say that this $363 that they're trying to charge us, we don't have money to just throw away twice. We paid the snow removal person already, and now the city wants us to pay them. I'd like to ask for you to remove this from a complaint of our church.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We'll have staff respond when all testimonies have been completed. Moving down, we have Greta Gozum. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
I'm Greta Gozum. I live at 3155 Arthur Street Northeast, and I also am one of the first people to be shoveling, and I live on a corner lot, so it's a lot of shoveling, and I'm always trying to make sure, I was in frequent contact with the gentleman who answers the phone for snow removal at the number that you call, and I had many questions for him, trying to make sure that I was doing it correctly and everything, and I thought that I was abiding by the proper amount of removal, and I have a very wide sidewalk, and I figured that, 2 feet is significant enough of a removal, and evidently I was told that after the fact by someone else in the city, not the gentleman I'd spoken to, that it's supposed to be the entire sidewalk width. But I thought it was probably just enough so wheelchairs could, traverse the sidewalk in the winter. And if that's the case, then why do they have the corners all banked up with snow and ice? And because I always work hard to try to clear my corners, and that was all destroyed when they came to clear the sidewalk. So there was a huge bank on my corner of snow and ice that you could barely walk over. So it seemed like it defeated the purpose of what I had already done. And also my vehicles in the driveway were completely plowed in, making me late for work the very morning that they came by. And I guess I feel like I had a more clear sidewalk than several of my neighbors, and couldn't understand why I was the only one getting the city, the city's attention. I'm not sure what the initial reason was for them to come to my address. I never heard, so.
Okay, we'll review that when we get done with all the other testimonies.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Those are all the people who had signed in on this sheet. Any other additional sign-ins? Anyone else wish to come forward, state your name and address for the record?
Hi, my name is Wendy Sullivan. I didn't know I was supposed to sign in, so.
It's okay.
I am also here for the sidewalk, obviously, and it's for the property at 2031 Russell Avenue North, and my name is Wendy Sullivan. It is a rental property, and with our homes, we have, if it's a single-family home, we have the tenants do the shoveling. It's part of their lease. We've never had an issue with that. We do the duplexes or multi-family ones, but we've never had an issue with that in the 13 years that we've been doing it. In this particular case, the tenant moved out, or the lease was up December 31st, but they were moving out of town, so they left before the holiday, which we didn't know. We got a letter on dated the 27th, so we probably got it some couple days afterwards. On the 2nd, We were there, cleared. Unfortunately, the tenant left the place in not great shape, so we were working on it for about 6 weeks forward, repairs on a regular basis, and so we kept it shoveled. I coincidentally have some photos. For whatever reason, I didn't know I was going to be standing here today, but I did present those photos. They are dated because they're attached to the data with the picture. So starting on the 2nd of January, which just was a few days after we received the letter, we continued to shovel. We also had, this is a lower income home, so we had a subsidized tenant moving in on February 15th, and so we had 2 inspections, and during that inspection from Section 8, if we did not have it shoveled, they would have cited us for that, so I know those dates it was shoveled. The tenant, after she moved in on the 15th, called to ask if we had shovels, and I said no, and then I said I'd check, I said no, we didn't. She then said, oh, I borrowed one from the neighbor, and I'll go and get one, because we had so much snow. So I guess part of my issue is through and we did come to do some repairs after she was there that she found once she was in, and every time that I went, because I take pictures for the repairs, it was shoveled as well. They did not come out until March 6th after a citation on December 27th, or not a citation, but a letter dated December 27th, which seems like a huge amount of time. And here we shoveled all the way through that. The tenant shoveled. One of the issues that the other person brought up that I think is really an issue is the snow plows. We're on a corner lot as well. The tenant did her best to shovel. On the pictures from the city, it is shoveled, but it's not as wide. Well, when the city is dumping that amount of snow that we had last year between the street and the sidewalk, it creates a huge mound, and there's only so much it's going to fall down. We had the weather going up and down, so it's freezing. They came in with a bobcat and made the area larger, actually, than the sidewalk. But that's a commercial equipment. I can't imagine that it's expected that a tenant or an occupant or homeowner or whomever is living there that's going to shovel is expected to have a bobcat to get rid of the amount of snow that was there. And if the pictures from the city, actually the pictures from the city on March 6th show the huge mountains of snow versus the sidewalk area. She did shovel on March 6th. The other issue I have is I found out from the city when I called about it that they have 60 days. The contractor who they contract that work out has 60 days to actually shovel or to complete the order. Well, they gave us that on the 27th of December, and they said that they came out on the 13th, and it wasn't shoveled, but I have pictures, and my dates coincidentally are the 13th. But also, March 6th is well past the 60 days that the contractor should have come. So I guess I feel like a normal, or I don't know if it's normal, but a person living in a home is not going to have a bobcat to get rid of the mountains of snow. And the city was coming around Minneapolis for sure on a regular, or on a sweep, clearing off those corners in an effort to help people get through, because they had piled so much snow up. The streets were so narrow you couldn't even park. If you parked, no one could get, 2 cars couldn't get through the lane. So last year was different than most, and I feel like 60 days is a long time for them to come back on an order that happens before, and plus they came after the 60 days. And I just feel like we shoveled. I had evidence that we shoveled. I was there, the tenant had shoveled, and I just think $372 is not warranted in this situation at all.
Okay, thank you for your testimony and laying out the points. Does anyone else wish to testify on this item? If not, I'd like to have staff come forward and maybe give some brief response to some of the discussion we've had today for benefit of the committee before we take our action.
Okay, I can go through them in the order that they each testified, and I covered the bases, I think, already for, which one was it, 5545 Fremont? Did we start there? Yep. So I think I'll just show those photos then. There we go. That's the before photo for 5545 Fremont, and the after photo. And then I believe the next address was 3042 11th Avenue South. And the record, what we do when we go out and inspect these complaints is often we'll just get a complaint about one or two addresses on any given block. But we do field inspections also when we go out there and we look at everything else on that same block. If other sidewalks aren't shoveled according to the ordinance, we'll also send letters, warning letters to property owners to shovel their sidewalks so that we, in that way, try to be even-handed with everybody on the block that has not shoveled. So for 3042 11th Avenue South, that was a field inspection. We went out, like I said, to that block for a complaint that we received for another address. So just the record says on the 10th, that was the date that we responded to the complaint about another address on the block. On the 10th, we sent a warning letter to this address. On the January 17th, we did a second inspection, still found that it was shoveled poorly with 2 to 4 inches of snow on the sidewalk. Sent a work order on the 17th, and the street department, in this case, did the snow removals on the 24th of January. So here's the before photo and the after photo. And for 4019 Bryan Avenue North, this was also a field inspection in relation to a complaint received on the 6th of February. So on the 6th of February, we did the initial inspection and sent out a warning letter. Found the sidewalk at that time was not touched. There was 10 to 12 inches of snow and ice on the sidewalk. On the 14th, we did a second inspection, 14th of February. Still found it to be not touched with the same amount of snow on the sidewalk. That one, we sent a work order, and for that inspection, there was not a removal done. So we came back around on the 4th of March. We got a public complaint for the address on, let's see here, and then we inspected. Actually, that date should have been the 3rd of March. We inspected on the 3rd, found it was shoveled poorly with 6 to 8 inches of snow on the sidewalk. On the 26th, on the 4th, we ordered the removal. On the 26th, the removal was done, and by the time that had occurred, there was about half of the snow and ice still covering the sidewalk. That's the before photo, and it was that was removed. So 3800 First Avenue South, got a public complaint on the 19th of December. On the 27th of December, we did the initial inspection and sent a warning letter the same date. On the 3rd of January, we did the second inspection, still found it to be shoveled poorly, 2 to 4 inches of snow and ice were on the sidewalk. The order to remove the snow and ice was sent on the 3rd of January, and on the 10th it was removed. And this first photo, it's pretty dark outside still, but and you might not be able to really discern that, but there was snow and ice still remaining on the sidewalk. And then the after photos, now it's light, show that the snow is removed. And 3155 Arthur Street Northeast, we got a public complaint on the 2nd of February. We inspected on the 2nd of February and sent a warning letter on the 2nd of February. At that time, it was not shoveled wide enough, and there was still 12 inches of snow and ice remaining on the sidewalk. On the 3rd of March, the removal order was sent, and it was completed on the 7th of March. This was done by, we had two ways of having this snow and ice removed in this last year. We had the city street department respond to certain work orders, and in other parts of the city, we had a pilot project where we were seeing how effective it would be and how much quicker perhaps we could get these removals done when ordered. We had a private contractor doing sidewalk snow removal work orders in portions of the city. So the pilot contractor is required to have a whiteboard in the photo showing the address, the date, and whether it was the before or after picture. So this is the before photo. And this is another before photo of the other part of the sidewalk. It was a corner property. And then the removals, the after photos also have to be taken. So, and the last one, 2031 Russell Avenue North, public complaint on December 19th through 311. On the 27th, the first inspection was done and a warning letter was sent. It was found to be not touched, 4 to 5 inches of snow on the sidewalk. On the 13th, the second inspection was done, still found to be not touched, 2 to 4 inches of snow on the sidewalk. We ordered the work order on the 15th of January. The removal didn't actually get done, and this was the street department that it was sent to until the 6th of March, but still, as the photos show, there was snow and ice on the sidewalk and a large pile. I guess this must be the corner where the corner removals were also done. The plow ridge, snow and ice is pretty evident in that picture. And that's the other before photo. It was a corner property. And the removals. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move forward the recommendation for approval of the assessments as submitted. I should note for committee members that this has already gone through an administrative hearing, and I believe we have the explanations of staff before us in addition to the testimony from the residents and citizens. Any questions per the discussion? Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is with regards to the folks who testified here. I mean, will staff be at least working with them or talking with them to see, what compromises can be worked out before, I guess, we approve anything, or, is it pretty much a done deal?
At this point in time, I believe staff is standing by the arrangements that have made through the administrative hearing process. Some adjustments have been made in some instances, but not in all. But this is the full complement of where they feel it's at today.
Okay. Mr. Chair, so, with regards to the folks who testified here today, it seems like, to me anyways, I mean, at least it'd be appropriate to have staff spend some time looking at these issues just to at least, reconsider, if anything, just because it just seems really odd that, they would be allowed the opportunity to just come up here and then we would just basically say, we're just going to approve everything, and what you had to say just didn't matter. And so to me, I mean, that just seems a little more appropriate under the circumstances.
Well, I will counter by saying that we have evidence before us that was submitted by both the testimony of the residents or property owners and the staff. In addition, that this was vetted before an administrative hearing judge. So if any person here feels that the case hasn't been made, you can make a substitute motion if you wish and see what the full committee's wishes are. Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. just to be clear, the action that we take today will be forwarded to the full council, so there is a time period between this action and the full council meeting. And sometimes what will occur is individuals might even work with their council members as well as meet with staff. And then the council members at that time, or today, but I don't think any of us look like we're prepared to make any amendments to the recommendation today. But if we were so inclined, we could take some action to make an amendment at the council meeting. And I've seen that happen before with certain assessments. It comes in and there's a few tweaks that occur between the committee and the final action. So that's something that we can know and others can know, that there is an opportunity after this, before the council meeting, which would occur a week from Friday.
I think that's very accurate. Thank you, Councilmember Gordon. Councilmember Palmisano?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the points of confusion that I hear coming from the people here today, and then the documentation that the city has, which I'm fully supportive of, by the way, and I'll be voting for these assessments. But in some cases, it was almost 40 days between that first complaint and the ultimate remediation work being done. And, you know, given that it's weather that we're fighting against here, I'm sorry I failed to recollect this, but I know we had a presentation done a few months ago that was about snow removal and the processes. Are we confident that the new measures that we're putting in place will be ready by this year's snow season? And is there anything in those new measures being implemented to kind of speed up this process that might be of help in these cases is what I wonder. I guess it's a question for staff.
Yeah, my understanding that the pilot programs that were briefly referenced today have shown great promise, and I think there is that we're positioning ourselves to expand it citywide and see much benefit in terms of the timeliness. Director Kaki may wish to add to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we are intending to expand or actually utilize the contract method this winter citywide. So the response on actually getting out and getting the sidewalks clear should speed up considerably throughout the entire city.
Thank you.
We have some advice from our attorney.
Mr. Chair, just one more piece of information. I guess I wouldn't call it advice, but there is additional due process after the council takes action. These property owners also have the right to appeal the assessment to district court.
Thank you. Councilmember Palmisano?
Mr. Chair, there was the one assessment that you said the person was actually going to see a reduction, and do we need to include that in the motion?
Yeah, that's forwarded as part of the staff report. Yeah. And that was just me referencing the note in the report. So any further conversation, any discussion? I will move forward as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting nay. And that carries, and we have all kinds of avenues to continue any further conversation with staff, council members, or the legal process. Thank you very much. We now have our final public hearing of the day, and that is a public hearing for the sanitary sewer service availability charge assessments, otherwise known as the SAC charges.
Mr. Chair, first off, we actually have two more public hearings. We also have a LaSalle Avenue Street reconstruction. And for the sanitary service availability charge assessment public hearing, Lisa Cerny, who is our Director of Surface Water and Sewers, will introduce this one.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Lisa Cerny. I'm the Director of Surface Water and Sewers. This morning, I'm here to request adopting the assessments for the fees for the sanitary sewer service availability charges that remain unpaid. These charges are also maybe better known to many people as SAC fees. SAC is a fee that is imposed on municipalities by the Metropolitan Council Environmental Services, also known as MCES. These fees are for new connections or increased volume discharges to the sanitary sewer systems. Each year, Met Council does what they call an audit, or a community review, which is generally like an audit. In 2012, they completed an audit which identified a number of different SAC fees that had gone unpaid, and we've worked through many of them. Today, I'm here to talk about two cases from that 2012 or 2011 community review, which we get the results in 2012. There are two businesses that had not, that we worked with and have outstanding SAC fees. They started with the process of making a payment plan option. Both businesses have stopped making payments on that. We've sent them letters and worked with them, but at this point in time, we're recommending to move forward and putting the remaining amounts on the assessment. So I'm here today to request the assessments in the total amount of $1,150 be placed on those two properties.
Thank you very much. Any questions per the presentation? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Anyone sign in with the clerk? Anyone wish to come forward? Anyone wish to come forward? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move approval of adopting the assessments as described by the staff. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting nay. Thank you very much. And we do have an additional public hearing. It's a public hearing that was continued from May 13th and July 8th of 2014, and that's the LaSalle Avenue Street Reconstruction Project from 12th Street South to 8th Street South.
Mr. Chair, Beverly Wormka, who is our project engineer on this project, will make the presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Beverly Wormka from Transportation Planning and Engineering. This is a continuation of the LaSalle Avenue Street Reconstruction Project number 2227. As stated, it started, the public hearing was opened on May 13th. This is a reconstruction project between 12th Street South and 8th Street South. And we continued the public hearing so that we could come back in September with the layout to have that approved. This project includes new pavement, sub-base improvements if they're necessary, curb, gutter, sidewalks, storm drain inlet, signals, lighting, and accessible curb ramps. The estimated cost of the project is $4.6 million to be funded by net debt bonds, municipal state aid dollars, and assessments. Assessments in the amount of $553,704.13 to be determined through the influence zone area method at a rate of 80 cents per square foot of residential properties and $2.39 for non-residential properties, and payable over a 20-year period. There was numerous stakeholder meetings throughout the project development of this, and that is, this project will be reconstructed next year, and utility work has already started out there. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Any questions per the presentation? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Anyone wish to speak to this item? Anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and say thank you for staff. Sometimes the evidence of lack of people for the hearing are a product of good work at the community meetings and stakeholder meetings. So thank you for that. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting nay. That carries as submitted by staff. We now have completed the public hearing items and can now move forward to our discussion items, starting with number 10, walking routes for youth map release. Director Kaki.
Mr. Chair, Committee, first off, thank you for allowing us to present this item. One of the reasons we wanted to present this was just to get this information out to the public the best we can. I have Forrest Hardy here today, who was really kind of the project manager on this initiative. I think they've done some great work, and he will kind of show you the work that they did and who they collaborated with on this effort.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Forrest Hardy. I work in the bicycle pedestrian section of Public Works within traffic. And I've been working on this map in collaboration with Minneapolis Public Schools for the past 2.5 years. It's been a huge endeavor, and the map will be released this fall to all of our city schools, which is over 140 schools. Public Works, we typically focus on engineering and infrastructure, but we get asked a lot what we're doing to address the other 5 E's of safe routes or bicycle and pedestrian safety. And specifically, these maps address education and encouragement. They're meant to help students within the city schools actually get out there and walk these routes. As you see the slide there on the map, you see there's a intense network of routes on this map, and those routes were basically the result of a lot of collaboration between the city schools, public works staff, a lot of the neighborhood organizations, and 4th Precinct Care Task Force, which is a public safety task force in the 4th Precinct. And they were revised and updated over the course of 2 years or so and included on the final map. You'll see at the top bar of the map, there is also kind of a tool to get the kids more engaged in the map. Basically shows a figure of a hand and a scale, and says, measure your distance to your local school or your local park or library. That's one thing we included to help engage the kids into the map a little more. What these routes show, they basically connect our schools, our parks, and our libraries. And it's a route, or it's a system of routes that are basically, they could be used as a public works infrastructure tool, as well as a route for students to actually use to walk to school. So we plan to use this in our infrastructure planning, specifically with our pedestrian safety capital fund. On the back side of the map, if you could show that slide, which is page 2 of that PDF. And what you have in front of you there, committee members, is some additional information. Oh, I didn't realize I had control of that. Some additional information on the back that shows both, I guess, safety information for kids, such as walk together, walk in big groups, tips on how to lock your bike properly, tips on how to use some of our public works infrastructure, such as our traffic signals, our pedestrian flashers, and also some information for parents on how to start a walk to school group at their own school. Also on the right side of the back side of the map, there's other benefits to walking or biking to school. Some history on the stats of how many kids have walked compared from 1969 to 2009, and how that's kind of dwindled but is kind of on the rise again. The environmental benefits and physical benefits of walking and biking to school. And a study that shows basically, scrolling down to the bottom there, it shows, there's a study that was produced that shows that brain activity actually increases with a 15-minute walk or bike to school. And that's one thing that our public school system has really tried to put forth within the schools to start programs to get kids to walk and bike. Not only is it fun, but there's also benefits, educational benefits and academic benefits to walking and biking to school. So these maps will be distributed this fall. We've already distributed 1,000 of them during Walk and Bike to School Day at 30 schools. We'll distribute about 5,000 more in the coming weeks and months at the rest of our public schools and charter and private schools. And we'll also have them in the park rec centers and in the libraries as well. So thank you.
Wonderful work. Any questions? Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. I'm so excited to see this work. You guys are doing such a fantastic job of marrying the sort of infrastructure improvements, and it seems like we have a good base here, but have so far to go really to make it safe and convenient for all of our families to walk to school. But this is such a great start, and I think really shows how we're incorporating both the education component and the infrastructure component. So great job. Really excited to start handing these out.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councilmember Gordon.
So if somebody wants to get a map, do they have to wait to get it distributed to them, or is there a way that they can access it online or get one sent to them?
I'm glad you pointed that out. I did basically go over, I skipped one important fact is that the maps will be available online. There'll be a a pan and zoom PDF, and there'll also be a smartphone version that you can download into your smartphone, and that geolocates your coordinate into the phone so you actually can see where you are on the map. And that's all available online at minneapolismn.gov/publicworks/saferoutes.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I will note the point that was made in the presentation at how it brought so many different interests together in earnest to pull this wonderful product. Just as one example, in my ward with Wade Park, it was an effort of the school patrol, the teacher, the principal, the neighborhood association felt that this was a real big and serious deal, and they all got involved. And I just remember being in the classroom with the student patrol that was involved in this, and they took it so seriously, and they felt so honored to be engaged like an adult in a real serious product for the city of Minneapolis. It was a big deal. It's kind of one of my few Mayberry moments probably in ward work. And this will be a great product, and there is more work to be done. I think, this isn't scientifically proven or adopted by any authority, but I think as a proxy for health of a community, if we can move the dial on that, single-digit % of youth walking a community to the double-digit, almost 50% number, what a great proxy for health of community. To me, that would be like a strong indication of a healthy community, probably as strong and as clear one as I can think of. So this is going to help us get there. This is really great work, and I compliment you for it in the department.
Thank you.
With that, I will move to receive and file as presented by staff. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting nay. That carries and is received and filed. Our final item for today will be a discussion on One Sort recycling program. This is our one-year check-in, I believe.
Mr. Chair, David Herberholz, our Director of Solid Waste and Recycling, will make the presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Dave Herberholz, and I'm the Director of Solid Waste and Recycling for the City of Minneapolis and Public Works. And I'm extremely pleased to be here and speak about the success of the Minneapolis One Sort recycling program. A little bit on the waste and recycling history. This is a little bit busy bar chart, but what it does show is that in our waste and recycling programs, we are moving in the right direction, a positive direction, that being that our waste is declining and that our recycling is increasing. And we're looking forward, if you look at the red section of it, where we start to advance upward, we're looking forward to an educational campaign that will go out and increase our efforts to reach the public to get more to participate and steadily increase our recycling rate. Timeline, just for some historical perspective. We began citywide One Sort rollout in the end of 2012, November, where approximately 1/3 of the city received their One Sort recycling carts. We continued that rollout the following April, paused during the winter season, and then the rollout was complete in mid-June of 2013. And then the first full year anniversary of the program was the past July of this year. Important here, I guess, is really some of the resident feedback, and it was such a significant change that I'll just read these quotes real quick. Couple residents: "It's so easy, I love it. Glad to be done with sorting into paper bags. No more asking for paper at the grocery store. I can just use my reusable bags. Absolutely love it. I swear I'm recycling at least twice as much as I used to. Thank you." So very well received program with the residents. And expectations, I'm going back to when we commissioned to have a study done to provide us with some information on what direction to go with with recycling in the future. We looked at both a dual sort and a one sort program in comparison to our older multi-sort program. In that, you'll see the different variables there, collections and what we anticipated. So on the collection end, we anticipated that recycling weight would increase by a minimum of 30 to 60%. We actually have achieved 25%. I'll talk about that in just a moment. Commodity prices, markets for recyclables go up and down, so it's pretty volatile, but we feel good that we have a relationship with Waste Management where all our materials being recycled. Processing cost, we anticipated 60 to 80 tons when the study, dollars per ton when the study was done, and we actually have a contract right now for $49 a ton. So savings there that we did not anticipate and are pleased to have. Our residual weight rates, we anticipated 2.5% to 4% because of the combination of all the materials. We're tracking at less than 5%, so that speaks very well of the commitment of the residents to have a clean product. Avoided tipping fees. The time the study was done, we were paying HERC $47 a ton. Ironically, we're paying the same amount to tip at HERC as we are paying to get the material recycled, $49 a ton. And then operational cost, we felt, and it was recommended with one sort because of the efficiencies, and we're definitely finding that, and I'll talk about that in an additional slide. It simplified things, and the local markets for processing, recycling, all were steering towards the one sort method of processing. So our decision to go to one sort as opposed to dual sort was, I think, well thought out, well planned. Operational improvements. And I've got a couple pictures on here because the pictures really tell the story. So we've got consistent vehicles now. So if you look at the bottom picture, that's our old method of recycling collection where we had a truck and trailer, non-compaction, multiple compartments, difficult for our collection crews to place material in, and also difficult for residents to do the separation. So now we've got a more uniform fleet. The rear loaders that is in the upper right-hand corner are the chosen truck for our one-sort recycling program. It helps with purchasing our spare parts for maintenance. It actually reduced the number of trucks because if you'll see down the bottom here, we originally had 24 routes that were using the tandem collection, and we actually cut that in half by having the rear load truck. And also reduced the amount of space. We're shoehorned in a little bit at Pacific where we operate and maintain our trucks. Getting rid of the trailers allowed us to have more space for vehicles. Additional operational improvements, and this is very significant for the fact that the difficulty in collection of multi-sort program contributed to a lot of injuries out on the route. So in 2013, we actually, by going to the one sort with a semi-automated lift that you see in the picture here, rather than trying to toss material and the stretching and strains, we were actually able to reduce our workman's compensation claims by approximately 62% over the prior year with multi-sort. In 2012, we also had 33% of our injuries that were related to recycling, and by the implementation of the one sort program, year to date this year, 12% of our injuries are recycling related. So very impactful from a safety standpoint. Results of our switch to one sort, and I've got a couple pie charts on there. Once again, I did mention that we were tracking in a positive manner. And if you look at the reason I use these two points in time were that the period of time from 2009 to 2010 in the left pie chart was really the last full year of multi-sorts, where we didn't have any mix of dual sort pilots or one sort pilots, in comparison to the right pie chart, which has been the last year of the official one sort only program. So if you see in it, the tonnage has increased from 22,000 to 28,000 tons of recycling. That's a 29% increase. And then our waste energy, I also talked about the amount of solid waste, the garbage going to HERC being on a decline. And this also shows that in this period of time, there's been a 16% decrease in the amount of waste disposed at HERC. Participation, I want to talk a little bit about that, is that we distributed 98-gallon carts initially to all residents of the city, and approximately 99% of our customers are still using that cart. We did offer, and we have a 64-gallon container for those that may not, approach filling the 94-gallon, and a little less than 1% of our customers are using that cart. And it also speaks that there's people that really recycle aggressively, and approximately 879 households within the city have more than one recycling cart. So, far different from the garbage end of our business, where if individuals generate more trash and need an extra cart, they pay for that. Recycling, if you want an extra cart and want to recycle, there's no cost for that, and we encourage that. Targeted, this is next step. So some of our targeted one-sort education. Within our division of Public Works, we do a very good job of mapping and tabling data. So we really know what, by route out there, how much recycling is being collected. So a little busy in this picture here, but it kind of shows some of the lighter areas. We kind of know areas that we're going to have some educational campaign to go out and do some targeted education, and various reasons for that, on why they may not be recycling. We don't know if it's just they don't have the understanding of just how easy it is, if there's some language barriers that we need to work on, and we're looking to drill down to the neighborhood groups with the involvement of Kelly Kish, our recycling coordinator, and actually go out there and target some education to get people that maybe aren't recycling as much or not recycling at all to see how easy it is in the program and kind of help us increase that recycling rate. And with that, just in closing, I'd just like to say that I want to thank everybody involved in the success of this program, and that includes the mayor and city council. It also includes our public works staff, divisional staff within solid waste, and our field employees, and very important partners in education being Hennepin County. And then probably most importantly is the residents of the Minneapolis who are very committed. They were very committed in the multi-sort program when it was very difficult. And we've seen that that commitment has been ongoing as we moved into one sort, and we're really looking for positive things in the future. So with that, I'll close this and open it up to any questions, and I have Kelly, our recycling coordinator, here also. Thank you.
Any questions? Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you. I have a couple rather detailed questions, I guess, but I just think this is great news. I really appreciate the report. I'd like to see that increase. I had one question about the carts, and this picture might help. So is that a 64-gallon garbage cart there?
That is actually we have two, Commissioner Gordon, committee members. We actually have in the solid waste and two sizes of carts right now. We've got the large 94-gallon garbage cart, and this one in the picture is actually a 26-gallon. I think it's 26. 22 to 26 gallons, a small garbage cart.
So it's actually smaller than the smaller recycling cart.
It is.
And I have a question about both of those carts. Can the trucks dump those or not?
The trucks can dump both of those.
Both of those.
Yes.
Okay.
Little Committee Member Gordon, a little bit more difficult with a smaller cart with our lifts there, but they can be dumped.
With the lifts.
With the lifts.
Which I think will be important too. I mean, I'm trying to encourage people to use those, and there seems to be some confusion if we actually have to have our guys and gals reach in there and take the stuff out and throw it in the truck, or if they can be dumped. So I'm glad to hear that the lift can handle those. That's actually the image of the small garbage cart with the large recycling cart that I want to see at everybody's house eventually, or maybe get rid of the garbage one altogether and get to zero waste. Which makes me want to go back to that chart with the two pie charts, that one right there, which is interesting there is, I appreciated seeing the 29% increase in the tonnage of recycling, and that was great, but we've actually see I think it's about 4,000 tons increase in waste, which I think that's something we also have to keep thinking about. Now it's very possible that we've actually grown in population, that we've had more businesses operating. I mean, the economy's changed dramatically, so there's a lot of variables there. But I think as a city, it would be nice if we could think about, we actually want to drive down the tonnage of waste, and we want recycling to go up, but we don't want people to think, great, we have one sort recycling, I'm going to buy a whole bunch of more consumable goods and packagings that I don't need and everything because I can just recycle it, because of course there's a lot of costs with collecting it, sorting it at the facilities, selling it off to somebody and all of that. So that was just a point I wanted to raise, and I was wondering if we probably are keeping track of the per capita tonnage of waste in the city.
Committee Member Gordon, we are, and I'll clarify this, is that if you look at the second slide, we actually have reduced the amount of material taken to HERC by 14,000 tons in this chart here, so that's at 16,000.
And that's absolutely wonderful too, and I didn't want to minimize any of that progress, but it was just that we've actually, the total went up a little bit, that's all.
And as far as your question regarding per capita generation and that, these figures are relatively easy to come up with that per our households. We just haven't done it for this presentation here.
You don't have to, but I just wanted to get on my soapbox about that a little bit, because I know that we're trying to get to zero waste, and we'd like to have that 85,863 tons of waste to energy down to zero. Okay.
Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple things. One, I just want to say, I mean, I love single sort recycling. I mean, it's the best thing that's happened in a long time, at least in my household. Because I hated the Tuesdays where I had to sort everything out, didn't have enough trash bags, and it was terrible. So I love this. You know, with regards to the map that you showed, Mr. Herberholz, I went on a ride along, you know, for the garbage haulers, you know, a few months ago, and I was just appalled at the number of recyclables that were just in the regular trash bins. And, you know, I mean, specifically places like the places that are much lighter, which includes pretty much all of the ward that I represent. You know, I just want to extend to your office that, you know, with regards to my office, we want to do everything we can to help you out so that we become blue, because that's our goal. We want to get there. And, you know, I think, I mean, there are two opportunities in public works that we need to focus strongly on. One is the recycling piece. I think the other is, I mean, you know, when I went to the water treatment facility plant, I mean, one of the things that said was that, you know, especially in immigrant communities, we buy too much bottled water, which adds to this recycling issue. But I mean, you know, when Minneapolis water is, I think, the best water in the country, and so, you know, we need to really work on those two things, and those are kind of the two low hanging fruits that we can focus on. But I mean, not to take anything away from, you know, this. I mean, I love this, and I hope that we can do better to increase recycling in specific areas like Ward 4 and 5 and other places where, you know, it's not blue enough. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you. Very quickly, Committee Member Yang, committee members, I guess what I would like to also emphasize is that we do, and I appreciate your comments very much, and we have had meetings out concerning zero waste and that out in the north side, Congressman Ellison involved, and a lot of parties are willing to step forward and help in our efforts there, so I appreciate the offer there. I should say that, you know, our efforts when we go out to encourage recycling that are also multifold, in that we will encourage individuals that may have, you know, a lot of water bottles there on the option of using tap water instead, and not generating that additional recyclable. So kind of all big picture and kind of fits in with the whole message that to get to near zero waste and that we need to look at a lot of different areas in conserving. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bender, followed by Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a quick comment and then a question. I just wanted to note for my colleagues that I received a constituent communication from somebody who had been cited because our zoning code requires our refuse containers to be 5 feet from the property line. And so given that we've now added so many different options for waste and are going to start rolling out the single sort organics, or that we have the single sort plus now coming organics pickup, we've opened up the zoning code to look at this because staff thinks that this is kind of an outdated regulation. So that'll be working its way through the process. That was just kind of an interesting thing that came up. And then I wanted to ask a question about multifamily buildings. I have a lot in my ward, and I think that's partly some of the areas that are participating at lower rates. So is there anything that we're doing or could do in the future to encourage recycling in multifamily buildings?
Sure. Committee Member Bender, Committee Chair, probably best to have Kelly Kishme come up and speak to that right now. She's working hard in the area of multifamily and commercial recycling. She'd probably say a few words.
Councilmember Bender and committee members. I would like to first point out that what is on this map is just what solid waste and recycling service. So this is not including any weights that would or would not be coming from the multi-unit properties. However, Hennepin County and our division are working together to actually do a mailing to every multi-unit within the city of Minneapolis within the next year. That mailing is going to not only include a letter from our office saying that it is an ordinance that you must, or to the owners, the landlords, and the management companies, that you must provide the opportunity to recycle to the tenants of the property. But it will also include a brochure of all of the great resources that Hennepin County has available free of charge for the multi-unit owners, managers to utilize on behalf of those tenants in the property. And then also that Hennepin County will provide all sorts of technical assistance to help walk them through creating the best recycling program that can be offered. So, thank you.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Huberholz, two short questions. One is, we have this information, it looks like, by neighborhood, and is that how the routes are organized, or how do we know that this is the poundage by neighborhood? And then second question is, do you have any things that we can request from your office to make sure they get into different neighborhood events and things where you don't necessarily have to be using your staff time and being involved, but that we can bring them when appropriate, whether it be flyers reminding of how much can go in that one sort container, or any of those kinds of promotional materials?
Sure. With regards, Committee Member Palmisano, Committee, with regards to the first part of your question, we collect our routes are route collection specific, not neighborhood specific, but this is to our best effort as far as mapping our collection routes and that, and then plugging the data into the map. This may not be totally accurate, but it's pretty close to being accurate on weights in neighborhoods, and we can drill down to that to that effort. Kelly can probably speak a little bit about some of the materials that are available, and we do, and she has been very involved along with other staff this past spring, summer, in special events out there to get the recycling message out, I guess the solid waste, less waste message out there. So I think Kelly can speak to some of the tools that are available.
Hello again, committee members. I would like to say I've been with the city for a little over a year now, and I'm working very hard at creating those close connections with the neighborhood groups and also community organizations of different ethnic groups to be able to provide whatever message out in a way that they would like it, that will be best received by the neighborhood residents and the different ethnic groups. I don't have strong connections with every neighborhood at this point, but there are probably about 10 or 15 of them that I send an email to once a quarter that is a little update that they can include in their newsletter. For any event that neighborhoods are having or community organizations are having, they can request information from us and we'll provide it to them to have at the event if they don't want someone physically present at the event. And same goes for fun facts or newsletter articles.
Any further questions or comments? Well, I really appreciate the report. I think there was a general sense that this was a positive program, a positive direction, but we analyze it and let the numbers speak for themselves. And I think it's very clear that this certainly was laid out well. Credit to you and your leadership. The logistics and the thought that went into launching this were significant. And I think the results we're seeing is part of that good work. We've certainly identified behavioral issues in the council member commentary. That's the work to be done. And I think we'll be enlisting all our partners to get that part of it done so we can move the needle in terms of percentage of people taking advantage of this great system we have of one sort, citywide, on a greater basis in some areas. So with that, I will move to receive and file. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Dissenting nay. That carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we are done with our agenda and are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks. I couldn't even see it.